Understanding that adult media is a form of entertainment, not an instruction guide, is key. Entertainment, not an instruction guide, not a sexual health and wellness class, strictly entertainment with actors who are pretending that they are enjoying themselves. Welcome to the Sexuality Clinic Podcast. This podcast is designed to help you deepen emotional and physical connections, prioritize your pleasure, and build stronger, more intimate relationships. The podcast is hosted by a Canadian Clinical Sexologist, Roxanna Smallwood. That's me. This show offers a shame-free space for candid, science-backed discussions on sexual health, body literacy, anatomy, self-exploration, and relationships, both solo and partnered. Whether you're seeking to better understand your body, explore your desires, or communicate your sexual needs with confidence, each episode provides actionable tips and expert insights that will empower you to take control of your sexual expression. From understanding the nuances of intimacy and pleasure to building healthier, more fulfilling relationships, this podcast is your go-to guide for all things sex and connection. Join us as we dive into conversations about sexuality, love, and relationships, while also tackling topics like sexual expression, communication, and self-care. You'll gain practical advice to help you enhance pleasure, strengthen your relationships, and embrace your body and desires without shame. Ready to prioritize your pleasure and start building the intimate life you deserve? Tune in now, and don't forget to download my free checklist, join the waitlist for my online course, or check out my online adult shop at thesexualityclinic.com. All right, so here we are on episode 3. Yay! We are making a podcast, people. This podcast will be focusing on the impact of adult media on sexual function, performance, and expectations in relationships. Welcome to the Sexuality Clinic Podcast. I'm your host, Roxanna Smallwood, a Canadian clinical sexologist, and I'm thrilled that you've joined me for this important conversation. Today, we're talking about a significant issue that affects both individuals and couples: the impact of adult media on sexual function, performance, and expectations in relationships. So, with adult media being more accessible than ever, it is important to talk about how it influences our perceptions, desires, and realities in the bedroom, and how it affects our expectations of ourselves and of our partners. So, whether you've felt pressure to live up to unrealistic sexual standards, if you've struggled with performance anxiety, or if you've wondered how your experiences compare to what you've seen in adult media, this episode is for you. We'll break down how exposure to this kind of content can shape expectations and what you can do to foster a healthier, more realistic approach to intimacy. Shall we start with the effects of adult media on sexual function and performance? I think that's a great place to start. Many adults turn to this content for sexual education. The problem is that it often sets unrealistic expectations about what sex looks like, leading to anxiety, feelings of inadequacy, and even performance issues. For example, adult media can misrepresent aspects like body image, stamina, and the emotional connection that is central to real life intimacy. So it is crucial to recognize the disconnect between the scripted nature of adult media and the organic flow of relationships. Did you know that the average youth is finding adult media by age 8? Probably a little earlier for many. To be honest, while the internet was not a thing for me as a young child, I did have a neighbor. The neighbor had a son. The son showed me the adult media collection under the bed of the parent at age 5. So, whether or not you're talking to your children about sex, sexuality, all of these different types of medias and how to manage it and how to interpret it and what it really is, which is entertainment, it is not education. I mean, of course, you can learn from it, but we want to make sure that we're setting realistic expectations for our youth, for our own relationships. And there's a part of it that kind of comes to my mind relating to infidelity. People thinking that their partner is cheating by looking at adult media. So there's a lot to explore and unpack. I probably won't get into the infidelity piece today, but know that if you have concerns around adult media use and you're in a relationship, talk about it. Talk about what is acceptable behavior or not. Having shame and hiding is not the answer. I assure you that that will lead to disconnection and closing off from one another. But also, taking in too much media can provide issues longer term with performance. Also, habituation. If you are experiencing pleasure or experiencing orgasm in the same way all the time, your body will become habituated to that method, and it will become difficult to find arousal and orgasm in other situations. So be sure to get exploring and have some fun with your own sensuality and sexuality, whether that's in a partnered or solo experience. Don't stick to the same patterns all the time. You may have a go-to quick way to get that quick release, but make sure that you're still finding time to switch it up and invest in your own pleasure. The impact on expectations in relationships is another big concern. So many individuals internalize the exaggerated and sometimes distorted deceptions of pleasure, leading to dissatisfaction or confusion in their real life relationships. Jen Gunter highlights that adult media often fails to show the importance of communication, mutual respect, and consent, which are all essentials for healthy, pleasurable experiences. Michael Castleman speaks to the performance pressure many feel, particularly men, who are often exposed to overly dramatic representations of masculinity, which can then result in negative self talk and anxiety, especially when reality doesn't align with what they've seen. So, what can we do? Here are a few steps to start breaking free from these pressures. So, first of all, recognize the fiction. Understanding that adult media is a form of entertainment, not an instruction guide, is key. Entertainment, not an instruction guide, not a sexual health and wellness class, strictly entertainment with actors who are pretending that they are enjoying themselves, actors who may or may not have proper consent, who may have not even been paid as an actor. There are many concerns in the adult media world. Sure, yes, sex work is work, and if you're choosing it as your path, all the power to you, but there are some consensual issues and you may find some resources. I know there was a documentary recently made on Pornhub, which can be quite concerning. So I would suggest that you pay for your porn. You want to go to ethical sites. I can help you to come up with a list of locations to go. But be sure that if you are engaging, that it is in a space where there is consensual displays of acting and entertainment for the enjoyment of yourself, but also that the people on screen or in the images are enjoying their experience and they're willingly. Back to the solutions and actionable steps. So, open communication, talking to your partner about your feelings, anxieties, and desires. People who talk about sex have great sex. Okay, we don't just find a partner and everything's just going to be magical and you just trust that everything will sort itself out and if it's meant to be, it's just going to be fab. Nope. We wake up and we choose each other. And we wake up and we talk to each other about our expectations, about our desires. We explore together. And that is how a well connected relationship is founded. And then it continues with waking up and choosing each other and choosing that communication and choosing to know and be open and feel confident and comfortable with your partner every day. Successful relationships rely on being unapologetically yourself. Establishing a connection that is safe is the first part. Making sure that consent is a part of your conversation with your partners, also very important. And then the trust. I mean, there are so many aspects of sexuality and sensuality and relationships that I cannot wait to dive into. But getting back on track here, back to the adult media. We want to explore our own body and desires. So, taking the time to connect with yourself, free of external pressures or expectations, and figure out what it is that you like. Do not base your shoulds on your sexual media intake or your adult media intake. Some of these things have props as well, where maybe the squirting is hitting the wall and maybe they've been injected full of something that they can squirt out real quick, or there are other tricks that they use on the scene to make it look as though there's just this exorbitant amount of semen that comes out, or that you've got this. Anyway, we don't need the details. Being realistic about what great sex is for you versus what you're seeing online. If you're struggling with your sexual expression, I have put together a free ultimate sexual wellness checklist that you can download from my website. It's at thesexualityclinic.com. And the checklist includes steps to help you foster a positive relationship with your body and your sexual experiences. So, this can help you to take a step back, look through the different aspects of your sexual wellness, and consider areas where you might need to do some work, where there might be a possibility for improvement. If you head on over to my website at thesexualityclinic.com to get your free checklist, while you're there, you can have a look in my shop for some goodies that might enhance your pleasure journey. Maybe you want a little vibe. Maybe you want a little bit of a lubricant. Or perhaps you have a question. Feel free to drop it in my contact box or send an email to Roxanna at thesexualityclinic.com. Remember, the most fulfilling relationships are built on trust, communication, and authenticity, not unrealistic expectations set by adult media. Take the time to explore what pleasure means to you and prioritize your well-being. You deserve to experience intimacy in a way that feels empowering and enjoyable. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Apple Podcast allows you to type in a review. You can also rate my podcast on Spotify. For anyone who leaves a written review on Apple Podcasts, I will be doing a monthly giveaway. So I highly appreciate your feedback. It helps me reach more listeners. I would really love to normalize conversations around sex, sensuality, sexuality, and pleasure. Remember, pleasure is your responsibility, not your partner's. Although it does help if you have a partner who is invested in your pleasure. More on that in a future episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember to be cautious where you're taking your adult media in from. Make sure it's an ethical site. Perhaps pay for your adult media. You have the power to create the intimate, connected, and pleasurable life you deserve. It is all about embracing authenticity, communication, and self-love. Until next time, stay confident, stay connected, and always prioritize your pleasure. Bye for now.